So on Joe Rogan, there was a story about an elderly guy, so like 50s, 60s. He was losing testosterone, obviously, and he didn't want to hop on TRT. So instead, the doctor was, trying to figure out ways for him to increase his testosterone, whatever. And he did this thing where he would do a cold exposure and then right after do cardio. And his testosterone skyrocketed. His doctor thought he went to some other doctor and started doing TRT. I haven't looked into it too much, but I mean, it sounds like awesome. But I'd assume a lot more people would be doing it if it had that great results. So I'm not exactly sure.
Sounds pretty easy to test out. Do it and let us know how it goes.
Will do. I'll update this room when I do.
It seems pretty reasonable that if somebody is exercising and doing cold exposure, that either of those or both of those may have some impact on their T. You, as a young dude, if you started doing these things, might not notice much of a change at all, though, even if there is a valid mechanism for increasing the T, just because your levels are probably pretty good already. I've dealt with low T in my 30s at one point, and I think some of the lifestyle changes that I implemented certainly helped to recover mine. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Even if some study came out tomorrow and it was ironclad and they said, hey, do cold exposure and then this exercise and it'll boost your T, that doesn't mean that people are going to start doing it. People have a lot of knowledge out there right now about the basics of health. Drink water, eat food, move your body, get outside, be with people. The things that generally promote good health are already known, and plenty of people don't do those things.
It's pretty sad, right? Because if you just stop overcomplicating it, these things honestly aren't even that hard. I think most people could muster 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups 3 times a week, and that would have an enormous benefit over the course of a year. But people just want to find the perfect workout plan and just obsess over getting it perfect and never execute. Also, I just love that there's a room on Air Chat that's pretty popular about heat and cold exposure. It's pretty clear a lot of us have been on the same side of the internet algorithm for a bunch of years. Yeah, the cold shower is one of my favorite parts of the day because it just gives you an opportunity to have your mind be in control over your body. It's a little accomplishment when your body's like, no, don't go in, but you do it anyway and you feel great after, just like a lot of things in life.
If some study came out tomorrow and it was ironclad, as you say, and it said jumping in cold water boosts your T and blah, blah, I still wouldn't be inclined to do it for that reason. Unless they can tell me the mechanism, precisely what the biochemistry is, whereby cold actually leads to increased testosterone, I don't see any reason to believe it. I don't know that there is going to be a way of controlling the variables. I don't think these studies are ever done well, even when they are so-called ironclad. And ironclad in this case means they've repeated it and they've done it again and again, and they've found that there is some correlation between, let's say, cold therapy and increased T. What I would do, personally, is simply test it for myself. I do the cold therapy. If I feel better after a while of doing it, then hey, continue doing it. But let's say I didn't. If I didn't feel better doing it, then all the studies in the world that say, hey, it's good for you, it increased your T, is not going to make me want to go back because it just makes me feel bad. And who knows that, and as I say about a lot of nutritional studies and all this biohacking stuff, even if the study is robust, ironclad, whatever you want to call it, statistically provided with high confidence, and it works in 90% of cases, you could be in that 10% or even smaller percentage where it just doesn't work for you because your genetics are weird. That can always be a possibility. This is why those studies are kind of largely pointless, unless they're accompanied by a good explanation, which rarely they are.
Oh, I don't have any argument with that. I'm simply saying that people can have good information. They can know what they quote unquote should do and not do it.
I still think a healthy balance between those two motivations is reasonable, because I definitely won't argue with you about the quality of research today. You're an expert. But the reason I got interested in cold exposure is because Andrew Huberman was saying online that cold exposure increases brown fat thermogenesis dramatically and increases baseline levels of dopamine dramatically. So you'll feel better, have more energy, burn more fat. And so regardless of how perfect that data is, it's at least pointing in some direction. And now I attach some value to this information in a sea of information without any indicators of what's valuable. So I have a start, and I can use that start to go and try it out, try it for a few days, a few weeks, and subjectively determine whether it fits into my life. So I think they're both useful, right?
But why would cold exposure increase dopamine levels? I mean, just being cold doesn't seem like enough of a reason. The best explanatory theory in biology is evolution. And why would we be evolved such that cold exposure would increase dopamine levels? Is it a hormesis effect, like for weightlifting? In which case it should help a little bit, but then hurt if there's too much of it. Anyway, I'd like to have a better explanation than just kind of like A is important because of B, but B itself is just as poorly explained as A.
So I could put on a metaphorical lab jacket, pull out some statistics from a quote-unquote reputable paper and call it a day, but clearly the conversation isn't trending in that direction. I also think it's a more interesting answer to root it in evolutionary biology as well. To me, it's not too hard to reason from the ground up, because dopamine is the neurotransmitter equated with pursuit of reproduction, pursuit of food, and pursuit of making our environment better. We also want to remain alive at homeostasis while burning as few calories as possible along the process. So if we're cold, we have to burn more calories just to be alive. But if we move away from that cold environment to a warmer environment closer to the temperature where we're aiming to be at anyway, then we will burn less calories and conserve more energy towards other things that we are designed to do, like reproduce and eat. So to me, logically, that makes sense, but I don't know if that answers or satisfies your curiosity in any better way, but that's where I'm at with it.